2. I don't see a 2 on this guitar. Where do I put my fingers? This is really frustrating. If only there was another way.
Do I have a solution for you? So as you can see, learning the guitar while looking at a sheet of music is really hard. So my name is Ashwin, along with my teammates Tashar and Owen, we have developed this smart guitar called SuperFret that enables users to learn where to place their fingers on the guitar dynamically and visually through our SuperFret system.
For our project, we wanted to be able to visually indicate to users where to put their fingers on the guitar fretboard, and then also detect where they're putting their fingers, and also when they strum, so we can provide real-time feedback via a web app that allows the user to easily select between various songs, training modes, and then view their results.
Okay, so when you first launch our guitar, you can access our website that is hosted on the Raspberry Pi. And as you can see here, our website contains a list of different hand-curated songs that we thought would be appropriate for beginner learners to attempt. At the top, there is a search function that allows you to quickly search through the list and pick out the song that you want. And each song itself has 3 different options for you: a start option, a delete option, and a view feedback. For now, what we're going to do is we're not actually satisfied with any of these songs, so we're going to add a file called Eye of the Tiger. And this is an additional MIDI file that is a standard way of storing electronic music. And we just looked this up on the internet, and now we're going to add it to our guitar. So as you can see at the bottom here, it shows up. And now we're finally going to start. So before you start, you can select the speed at which you want to play it, the transpose, which is basically pitching it up or down, as well as the metronome volume on the guitar itself. You can also pick out of different tracks within the MIDI file, so the different instruments in this music file. So when you finally click on the submit button, the guitar pops up, the virtual guitar will pop up and display to you the different notes that are about to be played. So as you can see here, as the guitar is being played, the virtual guitar gets updated and allows you to see the song ahead of time as well. So what you just saw here was training mode, which is where the guitar will wait for the user to correctly strum the right note before continuing. However, we have additionally implemented a performance mode, which is where the guitar will just play as normal and expect the user to keep up. So let's see how this works. So once you are done with your playing session, you can actually go back and view the feedback from your last playing session. And as you can see here, we didn't actually do too well, only 24% accuracy. But you can see there were some spurts here where we played correctly. And on the Y value here is the amount of wrong notes that it took you before playing a correct note. So as you can see here, we played a lot of wrong notes by the end. And we also have timing information, so you can see on each note we were around 239 milliseconds delayed for each note on average.
Once the user has selected a file that they want to play, the file is converted to a sequence of positions on the fretboard where the user should place their fingers and the times at which they should play the notes. This information is all relayed to the Teensy over UART connection, and once the file is received, the Teensy lights up LEDs on the fretboard, whether in training or performance mode. The way we detect where the user has put their finger on the fretboard involves detecting a voltage on the strings. So as you can see, there are several metal lines going across a fretboard. These are called frets. And by applying a voltage stimulus to the frets and reading the voltage on the strings, we can determine if the user has pressed down on a string, because if they have, that would form an electrical contact passing the voltage on the fret to the string, so it can be read by a digital input on a microcontroller. Similarly, we determine which string the user has strummed by applying a voltage on the pick and then reading the voltage on each of these strings. And this is how we are able to give the user feedback on how early or late they strum the string and if they pressed on the correct note.
As Tushar mentioned, we detect where the user's finger is by driving each fret high and detecting when it touches the string. We do that with a series of fretboard PCBs that look like this, and each of these has a series of LEDs and then a D flip-flop to drive each fret high. And then we cover each fretboard PCB with this cover, just so that the user has a flatter surface to press down on top of. All of these connect, or we read out the voltage on each string using these wires connected at the end of the strings. And these get fed into the central processing area, which has the Teensy and the Raspberry Pi. So that system looks like this. We have a Teensy, which is a microcontroller mounted to a Pi hat that we designed. And this has features such as a logic level converter for the LEDs and a buzzer for the metronome, as well as some things related to power distribution. And then the LEDs, the fretboard PCBs, and the strings will all connect here. This mounts on top of the Raspberry Pi so that the Teensy and the Raspberry Pi can communicate together. And this allows them to communicate information regarding what state the system is in and information such as the MIDI file for the system. So jumping into some of the technical specs for our project, the first requirement that we had was we wanted to have the LEDs have a 100% accuracy for showing you the correct note for a given song. And ultimately, through our software and firmware, we were able to achieve that and play arbitrary MIDI files. We also wanted at least a 99% accuracy for detecting where the user's finger was placed, and we were ultimately able to achieve this since detecting the contact between the fret and the string is very reliable. We also wanted to be able to support users as they advanced and played fairly fast, so we wanted to be able to support up to 100 beats per minute and eighth notes, so around 200 strums per minute. And ultimately, we found that we were able to achieve 300 strums per minute without dropping strums. In fact, during our demo, a user tried to beat our strums detector by quick strumming extremely fast, and they ultimately were not able to make the system not register their strums. We wanted the latency from the user strumming to the LEDs updating in response to show them the next note to be well under 50 milliseconds so that people cannot tell that there was a noticeable system latency. We ultimately were able to get this underneath 2 milliseconds. The latency from strumming to the web app updating its note and advancing to the next note was around 215 milliseconds, which is somewhat noticeable, but since you're mostly looking at the fretboard, it was fairly reasonable for most users. The system is perfectly safe, with the average current measured through the body being 5.37 microamps, which is well below the detectable 0.5 microamp or 0.5 milliamp threshold for humans. And the system only draws around 1 amp total. So using our battery, we can run the system for around 4 hours so that you can play for really as long as you want. All right, so now we can take a look at the full system experience. So as you can see here, we're on the waiting screen, but once we click to start a song, such as Seven Nation Army, and then I can choose that I want to play in performance mode and at regular speed and at the regular metronome volume. I hit submit, and I see on the screen the first few notes of the song, and also on the fretboard, it'll show me what note to play. So as soon as I start strumming, it'll start advancing the notes, and I'll play and try to keep up with the song.
We had several people stop by our booth and leave positive reviews. One user said, "Wow, this is low-key sick." Another user went on to say, "Damn, this is so hype." An entrepreneurial-minded student said, "Can I have your LinkedIn in case I want to take you guys to market?" Lastly, we had a user say, "It actually made it so intuitive. I tried to learn guitar over break using tabs, but this was even easier."